When Karen, a tourist, crossed the white line and reached out for the royal guard's bearskin hat, her confidence was boundless. "I'm a tourist, so I can do anything." But her audacity was the last straw. The guard broke protocol, and his actions not only shocked the crowd, but also changed the course of the day. The reactions of the onlookers, Karen's humiliation, and the unexpected outcome made everyone reconsider the meaning of honor, tradition, and true dignity. How did this day become a lesson for everyone? London's weather, as usual, felt like a scene straight out of an old British drama. Leaden clouds, a light drizzle, and a grey sky reflecting the mood of the metropolis. Outside Buckingham Palace, tourists crowded together, their diverse faces and loud voices blending into a cacophony that resembled an open-air market. Amid this chaos, the royal guard stood at his post like a stone statue. Tall, poised, with perfect posture, he was the embodiment of tradition. His bright red uniform and imposing bearskin hat made him a part of the nation's legend. It seemed even the wind, sweeping through the avenues, respectfully avoided him. And then she appeared in the crowd. Karen, the tourist you've probably heard of, even if you've never been to London. Yes, that Karen, the one who believes her money gives her the right to do anything. She pushed her way to the front of the barrier, waving her phone and barking orders at her companion, a man with a bewildered expression who looked more like her hostage than her partner. Karen was a woman of considerable presence, wearing a loud orange outfit that screamed just as much as she did. An enormous camera hanging from her neck, like some kind of talisman, completed her look as the most important tourist in the world. "Well, there he is, Mr. Silent. Look how serious he is," she shouted, jabbing a finger toward the guard as if she had discovered a rare artifact in a museum. "Come on, closer, closer. I'm going to take a picture like I'm snatching that ridiculous hat off his head." The crowd began to chuckle. Some people pulled out their phones to record the spectacle. Karen, already playing the role of comedian, pretended to raise her hands as if reaching for the guard's hat. Naturally, he didn't move. He stood there as protocol dictated, with an expression of unwavering calm that seemed patent-worthy. At this point, a thought crept in. Really? Does she honestly think this is funny? A royal guard isn't just a man in uniform. He's a symbol, a tradition. Well, you get it. But Karen clearly didn't get it. Her voice grew louder, her remarks bolder. "Hey, Mr. Stoneface, smile! You're here for our entertainment, right? We tourists pay for this." Oh yes, Karen was convinced she was in charge. After all, she was a tourist, and therefore everything existed for her. The guard, Buckingham Palace, and apparently all of Britain itself. She believed her money entitled her, not just to see history, but to use it. The guard, of course, remained silent. His face stayed as motionless as the granite pavement beneath his feet. But if you could peer into his thoughts, you'd likely hear something like, "And this is what I trained for years to endure?" The crowd began to split into two camps. Some laughed along with Karen, fueling her antics. Others, clearly more respectful of tradition, began murmuring among themselves. "This is crossing the line," someone muttered in the crowd. "Does she even know what she's doing?" And you realize this isn't just an insult to the guard. It's an insult to all of us, to tradition, to culture. It's a lack of respect for something that should remain sacred in this ever-changing world. Karen, of course, noticed none of this. Her camera clicked away and her mouth kept running. She felt like the star of the show. "Come on, at least blink. You're human, right? Or are you a robot?" The guard stood firm, as if he hadn't heard her. But there was something in his stillness that spoke louder than words. It was as though he was silently saying, "I won't break. Not for you." The air grew tense. Even those who had been laughing just moments ago fell silent. Everyone knew. This was only the beginning. Quite the scene, isn't it? Don't you feel the irritation creeping in? Seriously, who acts like that? Fired up by the attention of the crowd, Karen decided to take things further. Her eyes gleamed with defiance as she nonchalantly stepped over the white line, the very boundary that separated tourists from the guard zone. Her thin lips stretched into a sarcastic smile. "So, is this your sacred line? I thought it was just chalk." The crowd froze. Someone in the audience quickly grabbed their phone to record what was happening. The sound of camera shutters grew more frequent. A man in the back row quietly muttered, "This is too much." But Karen only seemed to gain momentum. She shot a mocking glance at the guard, who still stood unmoving, as if carved from stone. Her voice became louder, almost shrill. "You're not going to move, are you? Fine, then I'll come closer." And she did. She stepped right up to him. Her hands reached out toward his bearskin hat. Her face was a mixture of mockery and triumph. "Come on, at least twitch an eye or something." She laughed as her fingers came dangerously close to the iconic headpiece. And then he moved. Like a lightning bolt slicing through the sky, the guard took a sharp step forward. His saber gleamed in the dim London light, and a thunderous voice roared across the square. "Get back behind the line!" Karen staggered backward, her face instantly drained of all its smug confidence. Her eyes widened in shock. The crowd froze for a moment before erupting into cheers and applause. "He really put her in her place," someone shouted. "Finally," added another. Karen, trying to save face, let out a nervous laugh. "Oh, come on, it's just a joke. What are you going to do, huh? You can't touch us." But her tone no longer carried the same confidence. The crowd had already chosen sides. Most were firmly with the guard. "Show some respect. This is his job," an elderly woman near the front shouted. "This isn't a theme park," added a man in a suit. Karen stood frozen, seemingly unsure of what to do next. Her bravado began to crumble, though she still clung to the last remnants of her audacity. The guard, meanwhile, returned to his post, once again becoming the picture of absolute stillness. Yet, the tension in the air was palpable, a tension that promised this wasn't the end of the story. A child's scream tore through the air like thunder on a clear day. It was a high-pitched, frantic sound that instantly drew everyone's attention. A little boy, no older than 5, with a frightened expression, had gotten tangled in the ropes of the barricade, ending up dangerously close to a nervous guard's horse. The horse neighed loudly, startled by the commotion, and began shifting anxiously. The crowd held its breath as the boy's mother cried out in panic, "Help! Someone, please!" The royal guard, who had been as motionless as a statue, sprang into action. Like lightning, he leapt off the platform and rushed to the boy. With swift, confident movements, he untangled the child and guided him away from the distressed horse. Just a few more seconds, and tragedy might not have been avoided. The crowd's reaction was immediate. People burst into applause, and someone shouted, "What a hero!" The boy's parents, trembling with the shock of what had just happened, expressed their heartfelt gratitude. The boy's father wiped his face with a handkerchief, unable to hold back tears. "Thank you, sir," he whispered, his voice thick with emotion. But just as things began to calm down, Karen decided to seize the spotlight once again. With her signature audacity, she stepped forward, crossing the white line once more, and shouted, "See, he can move, so I guess that means I can get closer too." Her voice, loud and grating, cut through the air, drawing irritated glances from those around her. The guard turned, and for the first time all day, a faint, barely perceptible smile crossed his face. But instead of arguing, he silently reached for a whistle. The sharp sound silenced everyone. Moments later, security personnel emerged from the crowd. Karen's expression shifted instantly. "What? Are you throwing me out? I'm a tourist. I have rights," she protested, but her voice had lost its former bravado. The guard, now back at his post, calmly stated, "She not only broke protocol, but endangered those around her." The crowd erupted into applause. Someone shouted, "She got what she deserved!" Flustered and humiliated, Karen was escorted away by security. Meanwhile, the guard adjusted his bearskin hat and returned to his stance. Once again, he became a figure of stillness, a symbol of honor and dignity that could not be shaken. The crowd looked at him with admiration. Amid the murmurs, someone remarked, "People like him remind us that tradition isn't just a ritual, it's pride. its honor. The crowd outside Buckingham Palace buzzed with energy, but now their attention was focused on something new. The guard who had just handled Karen's antics with grace and displayed incredible humanity by rescuing a child. His figure was once again motionless, his eyes fixed ahead, as though nothing had happened. Yet, a newfound respect hung in the air. Meanwhile, Karen, still under escort, tried to defend herself. Her voice, sharp and tinged with anger, could be heard in the distance. "This is all a misunderstanding. I just wanted to have some fun." But social media was already at work. Videos of her behavior spread rapidly online, accompanied by scathing comments. An example of utter disrespect for culture. Did she actually think this was funny? Just embarrassing. And these are the people who come to enjoy traditions? Karen's face flushed deeper with every passing moment as the security team escorted her out of the palace grounds. Her confidence dissolved like sugar in tea, leaving only a shadow of shame behind. Amid the murmurs and whispers of the crowd, a woman's voice rang out. "This is why we must respect their service. They're the guardians of our history and culture." The crowd responded with approving applause. Someone shouted, "Thank you for your service." "You're a true hero." The guard adjusted his bearskin hat, and a flicker of warmth passed through his eyes. Though he remained stoic, his figure now symbolized not just discipline, but also humanity. A child standing nearby tugged at his mother's sleeve and pointed at the guard. "Mom, is it true they never laugh?" he asked. The guard unexpectedly tilted his head and, breaking his vow of silence, turned slightly toward the boy. With a soft smile, he said, "Only in our hearts, young man. Only in our hearts." The crowd erupted in laughter and applause. This moment would stay with everyone as an example of honor, restraint, and the unbreakable British resolve that no Karen could defeat. The story ended with a touch of irony, but left behind a deep sense of admiration. Karen exited under the weight of disapproving gazes, while the guard remained steadfast, a reminder that tradition and culture are not just words. They are the foundation upon which respect is built.